Welcome to Family Law Friday, presented by Florida Women's Law Group. My name is Betsy Corbett, and I'm part of the marketing team. Family Law Friday is designed to be a resource for all women with a family law issue. Today, we will be discussing alimony in a long-term marriage. Before we get started, I wanted to give you some information about our host, Heather Quick. Heather is the founder and owner of Florida Women's Law Group that advocates for women in North Florida. The firm educates and empowers women on the law so that they can find the strength to endure the process and end up better both financially and emotionally. She's been a licensed Florida attorney for over 20 years, with the majority of her practice being in family law. Please join me in welcoming Heather Quick to Family Law Friday.
Thank you so much, Betsy. And thank you for joining us. Today, I'm going to delve into alimony again and talk about really what alimony you see in a long-term marriage. And mostly you are going to encounter permanent alimony. And that's where I wanted to spend our time talking about today, because that is probably one of the most litigated issues that we deal with, meaning we go to trial a lot on permanent alimony. That is because that is for many men and women too difficult to accept and agree to. So, because when you go to trial, it's because like you could not agree at mediation. Well, accepting permanent alimony and, saying, hey, I don't want to pay it, or, I need it, he's not agreeing to it. So I've gone to trial many times on permanent alimony. And so I wanted to talk about a few of those things. So there are some clear-cut lines in determining permanent alimony. One, you do have to be married over 17 years. But that's not just that alone is not enough. But if not, the way the law works is they say, well, we would presume something else would be suited. And likewise, even if you are married over 17 years, what the law states is, hey, no other type of alimony is going to be adequate. So there are really some few cases, or not few cases, but you're going to really fit into a certain pattern, a certain fact pattern that will make permanent alimony apply. I'm going to give you an example of something that it wouldn't be as likely, and that may help clarify that for you. So you may have been married 20 years, but you were married at 19. So now you're divorcing and you're still relatively young at 39 or maybe almost 40. You're educated, you have a college degree, so maybe you need to get back in the workforce, have some training, again, those other types of alimony, but you're probably too young and too well educated to make a successful case for permanent alimony. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but just to help understand, like, it's really, yes, the long-term marriage, but we also really need to look at where you are. When building an alimony case, the need, if you are asking for alimony, is established by the financial affidavit, and that is the most important piece of evidence, pretty much. You really got to work through it, understand it, and it has to be drafted well, correctly, and also understanding the income of your husband if he's paying, and tax implications that he has, as well as, in addition, investment income, and you'll be receiving half the assets if they are income producing assets. When they're invested, that is going to be considered. So there's a lot. It gets very complex, and many times it's so helpful to have a forensic accountant really dissect not only your expenses, but also comment on the investment income, how that should be calculated, what we could expect. So quite a bit of things there that are good to at least understand going in. And what age are you and your husband, and how close is he to retirement? How many assets do we have to divide? And all those things are important, because this is the rest of your life. And especially when you've invested, 17 plus years in a marriage, this isn't a fast thing. You shouldn't just leave without really understanding what your rights are and the financial picture, because then you may be just leaving things on the table unaware of what's there and what really your options may be. So that's why I find that so important. And if you are the breadwinner spouse, the same things apply. Is okay, just the marriage in and of itself being that long doesn't mean there's permanent alimony, because the other factors are going to come into play. And for for women and men, the court has to impute income. And the question becomes, well, from what? Are they going to impute a minimum wage job? That's going to depend on a lot of other factors. Do you have a degree? Do you have skills that are employable? So then they're going to look at that. Those are, really big issues that happen during, especially if you're going to trial. And so you want to look at all of those things, and we do what's called a vocational evaluation. That's usually going to be on who's asking for alimony, to determine what are your skills and are there jobs in the marketplace that you could go and earn income. Then what that does is the need decreases. It, lessens the amount of alimony potentially. So those are very important things to know and consider, and that's how we really look at a permanent alimony case. And you want to understand if that is something that you're really, your particular facts fit the bill for. And even more importantly, and I really can't stress enough, is letting your attorney know the truth about, your future, where you see yourself, and basically if you're in a relationship and you really see yourself getting married again. I say that because, and that is generally a small percentage of people, especially after a long-term marriage, and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's not happening. But some women know that it will be. And I tell you that if you know, you have a relationship, then it would seem to me, and not that we don't do this, but I would like to know, because there's other types of alimony that can be negotiated that might be better off than negotiating, permanent alimony, and then you go get married in 2 years, and it was you spent more money on legal fees or trial and things of that nature to get something that you didn't want forever. So and that's just a caveat. I think it's really important to be honest with your attorney. I always ask those types of questions so that I can present to you different options in a strategy based on what I know of your life now, of what you're planning in the future. So those are some of the big things with permanent alimony to know and consider. And the right now, that is it continues on. And in order for you to get more, or for your husband, ex-husband to reduce it, there has to be a substantial change in circumstances financially that is involuntary. And so, you see that when they retire many years later, but a lot of times it just depends on the age they are in divorce, the age at the time they retire, and what additional assets maybe they earned and additional income that they may receive from investment. So that gets tricky later on changing and modifying, but the general overall principle is going to be set. And I would anticipate, I advise women to certainly, talk to their financial advisor, maybe talk to their attorney again, understanding their alimony and how to plan for their future. Another type of alimony I'll touch on is lump sum alimony. And like it sounds, you know, you're like, hey, I want $50,000 as lump sum alimony. But without getting too deep and complicated in the weeds, that's just it has to be not instead of something else, but saying, hey, I want the rehabilitative alimony to go to school, but I just want it in one chunk as a lump sum. And so there, at least when you're in court, hey, in mediation, there can be agreements to all different types. You can name it and call it different things. But in court, sometimes you have to make the different cases and really obviously prove your cases to buy lump sum. So, and that's not always ordered unless you have a really good reason. And maybe it's like, hey, I want this much out of his retirement as lump sum because I think he's just going to drain it, never pay me, and, you know, be gone. He's got substance abuse or gambling problems or whatnot. So that's a very kind of simplified answer, but it just helps you maybe understand, because at least the more you know and understand, it helps you ask better questions when you're in this situation and going to meet with an attorney, and you can really understand, because then you provide more information. Hopefully your attorney is asking you all these questions, but sometimes you asking questions and raising issues will allow for a better dialogue, and then ultimately a better strategy and a better result that meets your needs and your goals for your future. So if you are in a marriage that is just no longer serving you or your spouse, and you're looking to get out and understand your options, you know, please call us at Florida Women's Law Group. I started this law firm for women just like you, and to answer these questions and help women really move through these difficult times and, you know, find themselves in a better situation. So Betsy will tell you how to reach out to us, and certainly if you have questions, please post comments, reach out to us so that we can answer those for you.
Thank you, Heather, and to everyone that was able to watch today. We're here for you whether you have a question about alimony or any other topic regarding family law. Please give us a call at 904-241-0012. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.